Hi, my name is Sean Belden, and I have a problem. And that problem is I'm obsessed with the rock band Tool. Let me explain. Before we head into the next video, the comment from the winner of the last video is right here. Thank you for commenting. Keep on doing you. The band Tool are my favorite band of all time. Point blank, no joke. They just make music that hits me to my core that other musicians that I do like their bands of just don't hit as much as Tool does. But I'm going to link to their Spotify and Apple Music down below if you want to check it out. You either love it or you hate it, but it does grow on you because, to be frank, I didn't like Tool the first time I listened to them, but it grew on me, so give it a shot. This is the band lineup. We got the lead singer Maynard James Keenan, guitarist Adam Jones, bassist Justin Chancellor, and the octopus god himself, Danny Carey. So the band got together in the early 90s in an apartment with Maynard James Keenan and Danny Carey. They were both in a band called Green Jello, which all the guys lived together in that apartment. For the New Year's Eve going into 1992 or 1991, Maynard and Danny made a band, and they found Adam Jones and Paul D'Amour, and they made Tool. They performed some of those songs live there that they use on their later on their EP Opiate, which they signed to a record company, which they made a deal with. If they signed, they have to make an EP and LP, and the record company agreed, so that's how they got their business in the music industry. In 1993, they released Undertow, which they had the hit song Sober be their #1 single. They also had a feature from Henry Rollins on the album, and it was more grunge album than their more psychedelic albums that have come after, but they had some elements there, but they didn't explore it as much because it was early 90s and the grunge sound was really the mainstream at the moment. They toured with their album and at festivals. There are YouTube videos of their concerts of the early 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and the 2020s pre-COVID. Link to my favorite concerts are in the bio below. And also, hit that likes button and hit subscribe, please. Alright, in 1996, they follow up Undertow with their sophomore album, Enema. This is their best album to some fans. They bring on bassist Justin Chancellor, who is a British bassist from a band called Naked GB, which later on at a live album Tool produced in 2000, they cover one of their songs from Naked GB. Some of the songs have original member Paul's part on the album, but 46 and 2 and Third Eye are where Justin came in. They also sample a comedian called Bill Hicks on the beginning of Third Eye, and it's dedicated to Bill Hicks, the whole album. So yeah, it's one of their sophomore albums that follow up way beyond their first album, because they incorporate more psychedelic and progressive more elements into their music. They toured with Enema, and with the stress of the band's relationship, they released, as I mentioned, a live album 2000, but they were on a 5-year hiatus from 1996 to 2000. Meanwhile, Maynard made a new band in 2000 called A Perfect Circle. But in 2001, they released their third album called Lateralus. Lateralus is the first of their many albums that switches up the artist for the album work. They use an artist called Alex Grey, who's a visionary artist. He has this logo on the back of Lateralus, which is pretty cool. This is their magnum opus of psychedelic rock, pretty much. And a lot of fans hail this as their greatest album, other than Enema, which is a constant debate. But to me, I like both albums personally. Just depends on the day. I like Enema one day and Lateralus the other day. But they are good tracks and great album altogether. They waited another 5 years till 2006 to release 10,000 Days, which they also use Alex Grey as the artist for the cover. I like this album. It's a good album, but it's not their greatest like Enema or Lateralus. I like the songs Wings for Marie, 10,000 Days, right into Vicarious, Lost Keys, Rosetta Stone, The Pot, and many more. But I don't like the transitions on this album, but Tool in previous albums have transitions on their albums which work, but I feel like they're really annoying and I'm wasting my time on this album. But fans do like the transitions, some of them, but do you, man. Another thing I want to mention about the album 10,000 Days is this album was dedicated to Maynard's mom, Judith Marie, who passed away from being paralyzed from a stroke for many years, as she was in a wheelchair for 27.5 years, which is equivalent to 10,000 Days, so this album is dedicated to her. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. You probably noticed that Tool releases an album every 5 years. You think the next one will be 2020, 2021, 2011, every 5 years will follow up to that point? No, you're wrong. They waited 13 long years to August to release their album following 10,000 Days. During this time, theories were released by fans thinking, oh, they're probably broken up, oh, they're never gonna make an album, it's gonna last 10,000 days. There were fake releases, the band was trolling everyone. It was a rough 13 years, but within those 13 years, by 2017, 2018, I got into that wave and liked Tool to appreciate when they came back with that album 2019. To the lead up of their album after 13 years, Fear Inoculum, which is called, they started releasing music on streaming services, which they didn't have before. It was only on CDs, vinyls, and pirated stuff, and YouTube, but they were releasing it on YouTube before the album. Fans thought they didn't release it on the streaming services because they wanted to listen to the whole album whole. That's what the artist wanted, but Tool lead singer Maynard said on Joe Rogan that that wasn't the case, and they were releasing them before Fear Inoculum, which came out at the end of August. So I gave you the history of Tool pretty much, but I haven't given you my side of the history. I started to like Tool my senior year of high school, and I was taking an English class called Existentialism in the Modern Novel, which a lot of the ideas from that class premiered a lot in the music I was listening to with Tool, so it helped me appreciate that subject more. I love them ever since. I try to get them to try to get people to listen, but it's hard. They either like it or don't like it. And some of my favorite tracks of Fear Inoculum are Pneuma, Descending, Invincible, and Tempest. They toured with this album, but COVID struck and everything stopped. Maynard got COVID, but is doing well now. Other than that, the band has also had previous experience with jobs in the past, like Adam Jones was a special effects artist on Jurassic Park. And Justin Chancellor is really an octopus part-time. For listening about the history of Tool and my personal obsession with it. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you like it and subscribe. And as always, transcend and include. Girl, what are you doing, girl? Huh? You wanna sniff the microphone? Oh, you good girl.